Hey guys, happy Sunday. In today's video, we'll be talking about the latest updates with Ethereum as well as BitMine immersion technology, ticker BMNR, led by Chairman Tom Lee. In fact, we got so many investors in this company, such as Cathie Woods. Now, most of you are wondering, is now a time to buy, sell, or hold BMNR? What is going to be the price prediction? With technical analysis, I'll go through all of those details, giving you my assessment and how high I believe BMNR will be going through the rest of 2025 and onward. Now, if you're new to this channel and you are a bull of BMNR and Ethereum, I would really appreciate you smashing the like and you don't want to miss it, where I will be playing an epic clip on crypto and tokenization. Let's begin, guys.
Let's touch on Bitcoin versus Ethereum because we had Tom Lee on a few weeks ago, and
Yes.
he's a bull on Bitcoin, but he's
Yes.
even bigger bull on Ethereum. He thinks we'll surpass the size of Bitcoin. Why is he wrong on that? Why is Bitcoin always going to be bigger than Ethereum?
So Bitcoin serves three roles. And yes, and we would differ with
I know you
Tom.
get on very well with Tom.
And we
So,
do,
yeah.
we do,
And
we
you buy
do.
BitMine.
Yes, yes. So the three roles, Bitcoin, as I mentioned, is the global monetary system, rules-based, quantity rule to be sure. And that alone is a very big idea. It is also a technology. So layer one blockchain technology, never been hacked. The other blockchains cannot say that, right? And so that's why the monetary system is based on it. And it is the first of its kind in a new asset class. We wrote our first white paper on that in 2016. So a new asset class. So it's got three very important attributes to it. I do think that Ethereum is playing a very important role, and therefore Ether, the native currency, in the DeFi ecosystem. A lot of the fees are going to the layer twos. Robinhood, for example, announced that it was going to start its own layer two, like Coinbase has. It's called Base. They get a disproportionate amount of the fees. Now, the question is, are there going to be so many layer twos out there that they're going to start competing against one another and confer more importance to the layer one? That is a possibility, and that is why we're invested in Ether, and we do think it powers the DeFi world.
Tom Lee says that ETH will hit 20,000 this year. He knows something. In fact, he's actually in Seoul, Korea, giving his assessment. He has different predictions, but overall, he's bullish that Ethereum crypto is going to be going up at very high levels. He calls it the monster moves for the next couple months. ETH profit posted Swift handles $150 trillion in payments annually, and now they are working with Ethereum Level 2 Linea to settle blockchain transactions. ETH is about to take over the world, so Swift, together with more than a dozen major banks, including BNP Paribas and BNY, has chosen Linea, the Ethereum Level 2 develop consensus to pilot migrating the interbank messaging system onto blockchain. This tells you we are at that state where Ethereum network level two is going to be backed by, you hear about tokenization, all of that. I think with blockchain transactions, things are just going to, take off from where we are right now, similar to like the dot-com era, back when it was like in 1998. Leo posts Ethereum daily average TPS new ATH 337. The world is rapidly adopting Ethereum for settling and securing the world's wealth. What are we seeing? We just continue to see daily TPS go up on the level two. This is very bullish. I think we're not stopping, kind of like what Lynn Alden says, nothing stops this train. Similar with Ethereum, nothing really stops Ethereum right now with proof of stake. You have the network being validated, continuing to get bigger. You got developers on the ETH network, making it become bigger, stronger, and faster. There's no way for Ethereum to reverse with where we are right now. And we got the backing from, the government. So that's why we should very well be bullish on crypto right now. Ted posts, I'm not long-term bearish on ETH. ETH rallied almost 250% from its bottom, so a correction is expected. We did see a couple months ago, ETH, it went down to like, 1500. I think the Ethereum correction will be over in a few weeks. After that, ETH will rally above 10,000. What is this telling us? I mean, now's the time to, continue to dollar cost average. What we saw back in 2022 on to like 2025, it got down to like 1500. Finally, just, got back to 2020 like one prior resistance levels. I mean, we're not even, at the all-time high of what we had back in 2021 yet. So Ethereum has been pinned down for so long. And Bitcoin has made its all-time high. We've seen that. Yes, it's the mother coin. It's the best token out there. But overall, Ethereum has a major upside as well. And I do think that in 2025, we're at least going to get to like 7,800 on a moderate scale. Merlin the trader posts ETH is loading the biggest run yet. Structure broken, MACD ignited. Momentum is compounding. 2020 rewrote crypto history. 2025 supercharges it with ETFs and global liquidity. The script is clean. Five-digit Ethereum is coming. So what are we seeing? There's so much room for a major upside here. I mean, back in 2021, we saw that big run up with the MACD. And are we seeing, bullish market sentiment now that we got the MACD crossing? What is this telling us? We got the bullish cross. And I'm expecting we're going to see some monster moves with crypto and Ethereum. Zach posts, Fundstrat told me yesterday on stage he's still predicting 12 to 15,000 for ETH by end of year. He mentioned any pullbacks still sets up favorably into year end. That pullback is here. You simply do not fade tomlee. So that discussion that's going on in Korea right now. I mean, 12 to 15,000 Ethereum. What does that tell you for companies like BMNR? So Cole posts BMNR is poised to hit $60 plus next week. So, let me know in the comments what you think. Is this going to happen? What's your prediction of BMNR in the upcoming weeks and rest of 2025? BMNR Bulls poses acquiring a 250,000 ETH in record time. That's what BMNR did. BitMine, guided by tomlee, has executed a significant acquisition of 252,441 ETH over the past 3 days, bolstering its portfolio to 2.2 million ETH valued at $8.84 billion. This move highlights robust confidence in Ethereum's long-term value and positions BitMine as a key player in the crypto landscape. So what BMNR is doing right now, tomlee, he's creating a company-like strategy, number one in Bitcoin holdings. Now, BMNR is creating a similar strategy on the Ethereum side, being the number one treasury with the most Ethereum on their balance sheet. Cogrind also posts, who on here thinks we could see BMNR back at 150, $135 one day? Put it in the comments. Back in July 3rd, we saw that big run up and BMNR, it's been just cooling off. We see higher highs, higher lows established over time. But when will it get back to $135? BitMine emergent technology. What are we seeing? We continue to see BMNR stacking Ethereum right now. And just recently, I mean, they took advantage of, the dips of Ethereum. And we've heard from Eric Trump buy the dips. Well, a company like, tomlee's, company right now is buying the dips. And that's why Cathie Woods continues to stack up BMNR as well because of the upside. They stacked 264,000 additional ETH, now puts them at 2.42 million tokens of ETH. That's equated to $9.71 billion. Now, when ETH gets back to like, let's say 4,900, 5,000 per token, you will see the amount, just go up in size. But overall, they are the 5% alchemists. So they're at 2% already of the total ETH supply, and they will continue to grow. Earnings per share growth already at 189%. This will continue to ramp up as Ethereum starts breaking out. Let's take a look at technical analysis. Want to just give you my overall perspective on the support resistance level. What we're looking at right now is just volume overall. So, with that recent dip last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we saw some huge pullbacks with, BMNR. It dropped, went up to like, 65, dropped back down to, like the low 40, no, the high 40s. And where we are right now, I do see that, we're building a new support level at 50, right? I mean, before 50 was like the prior resistance, but it's good to see that we're seeing higher lows. I mean, back in August, $30 was the support. September, $40 is the support. Now, late September, October, $50 is the support. So every month we're incrementally increasing by $10 on the support level. That's definitely very bullish, even though we see, these ebbs and flows. That's why, dollar cost averaging on these pullbacks is definitely, valid for a company like BMNR because they are a quality company long term. Think about long-term investing, I think BMNR is definitely one of those companies where you could really build on appreciation, which this company, tomlee, is really adding shareholder value. You look at, the daily moving averages, the black is the 200 daily moving average. Obviously, the price is well above that, which is good. Price is currently also above the 50-day moving average. DMA right now on the 50 is $47. We just broke above that, which is good. Current price $50 at the end of February. And 10-day, daily moving average is 50, 54.89. So as soon as we break above that, which I do believe we'll do that starting next week, this is going to be very bullish. We're going to get, above the VWAP. And, at that point, we're just going to start climbing up. I think this is a healthy pullback. And now we're already building a support around the $50 range, even though Ethereum tested below, 4,000. So we're looking very good as we head into Q4, like what tomlee is alluding to. ETH is going to have monster moves, and this is why I have this big arrow here because the sky's the limit with what's to come. Let's look at different technical indicators on the hourly chart for BMNR. So obviously we see some pullback from 65 to 47. A lot of people were getting worried there, but most stocks, had major pullbacks, even like Max 7 companies, but we had very strong support around 47. You see whales, buying up around this dip area right here. Yes, we saw this downward pullback, but I definitely do think that, every output we have, input ebbs and flows, and I think we're just going to continue to build the base up from where we are right now. So where I think we're going to be headed in the first step alone, I think, the next climb up, we're going to get somewhere around like 77, $88. That'll be the next resistance level. And then we will start, retesting, consolidating before we start climbing up. But as we scale out into Q4, I really do think we're going to hit somewhere around that, above $100 range. 110, 120 is a moderate scale assessment. And who knows, it may go even further than that.
Well, Eric, you said you were on the first yard line when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto and this entire space. How do you see it, for instance, like reshaping real estate? Do you see the tokenization of everything, or what do you see the next 5 years?
Tokenization of everything. In time, I mean, it might not all happen in the next 5 years, but listen, we're seeing in Trump Tower, right? Very famous building. Probably everybody on earth has heard of Trump Tower.
Heard of it, yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. Why is it if I want to put financing on this building? Why is it if I want to go take a loan? I probably had the ability to go to 7 different banks that had the capability of doing a project like this. Why can't I go out to tens of millions of people around the world who adore Trump, adore our name, and offer to them and say, listen, we're going to put $500 million of financing on Trump Tower. Who wants a part of it? You raise the money, and guess what? All these people, this incredible group of people, all have a small share, a couple shares, a couple tokens of Trump Tower. Like, that's a beautiful concept. Like Taylor Swift puts out a new album. Why can't she go and why can't she sell that album and otherwise tokenize it, monetize that album, and have people bet on the success of their fan, of whoever they love, whoever they aspire to be. You're going to have tokenized movies. You're going to have tokenized artists. You're going to have tokenized real estate. You're going to have tokenized commodities. There's virtually nothing. You're going to have tokenized art. Guess what? You want to only the greatest painting ever. Guess what? You can't afford the $200 million price tag, but you can own 1/10,000th of that painting or 1/100,000th of that painting, and you can get the accretion of the value if it goes up, and maybe if it goes down, I think everything's going to be tokenized. So you're seeing companies tokenized, you're seeing stocks tokenized. It's coming and it's right around the corner. It'll give great accessibility to people who would otherwise never be able to access certain financial markets and certain asset classes for the first time. Once again, providing financial freedom that just doesn't exist in today's economy.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we talked about Ethereum, BMNR. Let me know what your comments are, where you're watching from, what you enjoy from this content. Thanks, guys, for watching.